Okay, guys, so this will be another installment of the Healing with Children series. I did the introduction. I suggest you go, that's a good video to start off with to give you a good introduction to the basics and lay a foundation for what we're going over here. I've done Brandon's, Sammy's, and Aiden's stories, how they relate. Hopefully you picked up pointers out of there. Again, my children, the youngest I have is Aiden, 15 years old. So I'm going to share a story from somebody that contacted me through email. I'm going to read their email, and this is a very, very good opening to the whole younger kids and how the fuck do you do this with younger kids who are involved in a school system and have friends and have all these influences, outside influences around them. So we're going to get into this. Again, guys, if you want to share your own experiences, with your kids, if you want to share your own thoughts with your kids, and you would like it shared on a video, just send it to richardswink@icloud.com. Feel free to leave your comments underneath with questions, with your tips, tricks, things you might be doing, because all of this sharing and getting these things out as parents, it really helps us all to figure out how we're supposed to right these wrongs that we've done and help our children break out of this matrix of enslavement. So this person says, I'm going to try, we've been battling with trying not to be too strict and putting pressure on them, their children, and wanting to do the right thing and not have them consume poison. Okay, so we've been battling with trying not to be too strict and putting pressure on them and wanting to do the right thing and not have them consume poison. Okay, now I'm going to pick this apart. Now, when I do this, guys, it's because I do this with myself. Every word I speak, every word I type, every thought I think in words, I try to account for everything because it's all breaking the spell. Okay, it's all breaking the programming. So when I break these things down, I'm not condemning. I'm not going, oh, look at you. Stop doing that. Don't do that anymore. That you're not healing. I'm not doing that. What I'm simply doing is, it is necessary in this healing to be constantly present and aware at every moment. Okay. And my environment that I've created for myself, I am so constantly present and aware of everything that I catch everything. And this can drive people crazy because we live such hectic lives and we just want to say whatever and keep on going. But no, I'm going to point this out. Okay, so battling, that just the way that's worded, as we heal, we want to get out of that whole battle and that whole fight to survive and and everything's a battle, and it's like the war against cancer and the war against this and the war against that, and I'm warring with myself. No, we need to take that out of it because that is a stress. That's a stressor. Thinking you're battling with something is a stressor. Your healing's going to be that much harder if you're constantly finding yourself battling with things. Don't battle with them. Find that ground that you can stand on, that you're comfortable with. Find that ground that you can come from, right? That's why it's so important to establish yourself first and find your own peace and find your own understanding of things and find your own comfort in the way things are and how you deal with them and how you go about them before you can start projecting out. Now, of course, you've got young kids, so it's a fucking process, and then you throw them in the mix, so you're trying to do the right thing constantly. But we've been battling with trying not to be too strict and putting pressure on them and wanting to do the right thing and not have them consume poison. So you can see, just that conflict there. It's like, fuck, how are we, it's stressful. It's on top of jobs and money stressors and finances and everything else. It's extremely fucking hard. But just again, I'm not pointing out anything wrong. I'm just saying, if the way I'm doing this is I find that I have to watch every fucking word, because that word, if I say I'm battling with something, that means it's a struggle for me, and I don't want to struggle. I don't want to struggle throughout my healing. My healing is extremely difficult, but I don't want it to phrase it as a struggle and picture myself struggling, because I'm not struggling. I'm simply doing. So, in what helps you not to struggle? By cutting out, the reason we feel like we're struggling is because of the stress that's on us. Because we have not only this thing to take care of, but we have 50 other things just waiting to be taken care of, screaming for our attention. So it feels like we're constantly in a battle. It feels like we constantly have our Kevlar helmet on and our rifles at the ready and fucking, looking out for Charlie. You know what I mean? But we want to, we're changing our whole and everything about us. So just, being that thorough with this helps, guys. It really does, because it helps you get down even deeper into the nitty gritty, and to be able to get rid of those surface level stressors. And that's why the next video I think I'm going to do it on creating an environment around us conducive to our healing, because that really will play into this too. On Friday night, the kids begged to sleep over at their friend's house, and I didn't want them sleeping over there because I know how the parents are. Yeah, so your instincts told you that wouldn't be good. I caved because I don't want to suffocate them. Okay? So her instinct said, no, don't let them, because the way the parents are, right? So her mom instincts, her parental instincts kicked in, and immediately she thought no. But she caved because she doesn't want to suffocate them, because she's already, taken all these fun things away from them, right? That all their friends are doing and everything. They turn on the TV or they watch any commercial. Everything's got fucking food on there and poison and sugars and snacks, and they have it so fucking psychologically manipulated with colors and textures and the bears and whatever they can to sell this shit. So it's like, she caved because she didn't want to suffocate them, because she already feels like, she's keeping so much from them. Now, where is that coming from? That's coming from, we're about to find out. I was never allowed to go out and do anything when I was younger. There you go. And that's why. So there's a deeper issue here at play that's causing the emotional and psychological process that allowed you to cave, right? I think that would be fair to say. My abusive mother kept me locked in my room my childhood and teenage years. Yeah, so there you go. So just already, so, what I would say is make sure that you're dealing with that. Make sure you're addressing that and going thoroughly into that situation with your abusive mother keeping you locked in your room, and confronting that. And if you have to cut your mom off, if you have to tell her straight up, look, this is what happened. We need to talk about this. I need to go over my childhood with you. If you can't do that, if she's dead, if she's fucking, got Alzheimer's, if she doesn't give a fuck already, then you need to cut these people off. If you've already cut them off and they're still holding that power over you, then that needs to be addressed. That means that situation has not been fully healed. Now, I'm not saying you haven't addressed it. I'm just saying it's another thing to be aware of, right? It's that all of this, you're even saying it yourself, all of this is stemming from a deeper issue. And then this is the healing process. You're figuring it out. You're like, yeah, it came from this. And then you're saying it. So, I am validating Yeah, that you're exactly right. This is where you said I caved because I don't want to suffocate them, and then you went into this, and bam, there you go. That's your healing right there. Now you just need to make sure you're addressing thoroughly your, healing from that childhood, healing from those teenage years, healing from being locked in your room and being kept away, and your crazy ass fucking psychotic abusive mother, right? So, yep, and these are the things we got to do, guys, in order to heal. When they got home yesterday morning, they told me how the mom of their friends, so this is after they already spent the night at their friend's house, they got home and then they came straight to their mom and they told her how the mom of their friends was trying to force her programming into my kids, saying meat is protein and that if you eat fruits and veggies all the time, you'll become too skinny and have no bones. Yeah, exactly. And see, I deal with that with my son, Aiden. He wanted to get on a whole foods diet, but his grandfather, was the wrestling coach for 12 years at the high school, and is huge into all this bullshit ass nutrition and meat and protein bullshit, and told him he was going to die. I told him the same thing. So guys, we deal with this. This is the thought process out there in the world today. They're just a bunch of mindless minions that just follow whatever's on the TV and whatever the new fucking fad is, right? So most of them think that you have to have all of these bullshit foods, cooked foods and everything else in order to be healthy. So because they can't have a critical thought, they can't think critically. So our children are exposed to those things. Now, what I would say is if you are having your children and you've gotten them eating right and they understand why and all of these things, to let them know, guys, what we do in this house, most people do not agree with. Most people don't want anything to do with it. Most people don't agree with it. Most people could care less. They're going to make fun of us and everything else. You got to be, now this is very hard because she hasn't said yet, but she's got I think it's a 6 and 7 year old. So these kids are very young. Very young. Now they're obviously intelligent because they're honest, because they're coming back. You have that relationship, that bond with them where they're coming back, they're letting you know, because I'm about to get into more of what they let their mom know when they came home, and that's awesome, man, that they feel safe with you. So you're doing this right because you're creating that safe space for them to be honest, even when they're doing things that you know that you've told them they're not allowed to do. They're still being honest. That's huge, man. You gotta foster that. No punishment for those types of things. No, harsh words. No, just love and just absolute acceptance and gratefulness and gratitude to them for being open and honest and just a thorough examination and a talking, and not a disciplinary talking, but man, I just kudos. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, but I would let these kids know, that because you don't want them going out there and because you're creating such a positive, right, healthy environment in your household, and so what happens is kids are innocent, and they get excited and they're happy, and then they think, oh, and you're creating that safe space for them, and then they get out in the world and this evil fucking wolves around, all these wolves, and who are just waiting to pounce on them and with their horse shit and just crush them, because see, these adults, these other kids and these adults are so scarred and emotionally and traumatically abused and everything else, and just so narcissistic and nasty, and they hurt so badly deep down. They want to see everybody hurting. So when they see your innocent young 6-year-old all happy and bouncing and bubbly, they don't like it. They want to fucking see that kid cry. They want to see it fucking suffer. They want to make it fucking torturous for that kid. And that's just the way it works. That's how it works when you're unhealed and you have no plans or don't know how to heal, and you're just wallowing in your misery. You want everything around you to be miserable. You want everything around you to be suffering. So, yeah, I would definitely, find your own way. Feel free to share, but find your own way on how to not scare your kids and be like, the world's a dangerous place. You gotta watch out. Don't say anything. Just keep your mouth shut and fucking just. But I try to tell my son, my youngest son, I'm like, dude, nobody wants to hear your shit, Aiden. Nobody gives a fuck about the truth. Nobody gives a fuck about. I'm like, dude, high school is because he says he's like, it's like a fucking prison, and I'm like, yeah, you're exactly right. And I was like, the more you talk, it just makes shit harder on you. You're not gonna You're not gonna be some social justice warrior and go out there and fight for the little man. That's martyrdom. That is fucking ridiculous. These systems are broke on a purpose. They were built to be broke. They were built to operate in these fucked up ways. They operate these wasteful ways, these inhumane ways. This is how they were made to operate. So it's not like we can't even save our own kids, more or less have our kids go out there thinking they're going to save the fucking world and change the world. It's not going to happen. That's just not the way things work. And so we don't want them to get crushed. And all I'm saying is, while creating that safe space and that environment and imbuing them with that proper knowledge and that acceptance of the truth, we want to at the same time make them wary, at least, of the fact that the world out there does not care for truth. They like lies, manipulate, and I don't know how you get that across to a child 6 or 7 years old. Like I said, I can be so forward with my 14, 15-year-old because, he's older and I've just always had that open communication with him. But, if he was 6 or 7, it's a very much more nuanced thing, I guess. Their mother thinks this is about weight. Yeah, same way. So, eating, you have to eat protein and meat and carbohydrates and all this stuff. And they think it's about weight. Like you're going to you're just going to shrivel up and die if you eat fruits and veggies. That's what these idiots think. She also allowed them to have screen time, which we don't do at all at our home. Yeah, so you can already see, how, by you caving, again, where'd your caving come from? It came from your old programming, your old psychological scarring and emotional scarring from your upbringing that even put them in this situation, right? So it's just, be wary of that. Be aware that, that is what allowed this to happen. Now, I don't think this, your children didn't die. They didn't, everything's okay. It's just, and she gets to it at the end of her email here, where she's never going to let it happen again. But and like I said, it's not a huge deal, and it's a learning experience all the way around. And it's good that this happened because it allowed them to experience everything, and then it opened that conversation for you guys, and then you not be the stranglehold, holding them back, putting them on a leash, but allowing them, and then now it opens that conversation to see, okay, this is why, and this is, what do you guys think, and get them involved in the conversation. And man, it's so critical. They're at the perfect age, man. 6 or 7, that's so precious. Those are so precious. I wish I could have my kids back to do this again at 6 or 7 years old, man. I would have saved them from a lot of abuse and trauma and programming. She also we have cut that out months ago for our children. So yeah, good for you. So months ago. So, months ago, that means your kids are already, in the process, and, it doesn't take long for a 6 or 7 year old to adapt. So if you've been doing that for months, man, kudos to you. That's awesome. That's a beautiful thing that you're getting away from that screen time. and obviously to be able to get away. I mean, it's amazing, guys, how much these kids spend in front of screens, and when you don't realize until you take them away from those screens, and then they're twiddling their thumbs. Okay, what the fuck am I supposed to do? That you realize how much time, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours daily. You're talking about 5, 6, 8 hours a day and fucking like this, just hypnotized by whatever comes through that screen, man. So yeah, kudos, man. That's beautiful. She bought them McDonald's chicken nuggets for breakfast, which enraged me when my kids told me. Yeah, that's so sad, man. Because you're trying to do the right thing, and then that stuff has nanoparticles. It has nanotechnology in it. It's got they've even traced this stuff back to having human meat, human DNA in it. God knows what other kind of fucking shit they're grinding up into that fast food. And then all the chemicals, the processing, the oils, it's just like, it's terrible. And, once those kids get that, look, they can be so healthy, and then you give them, you go off for a week and give them fast food. Not only are they going to get sick and feel like shit, but it's building up those parasites in their system, and then they got to re-kill those parasites and get rid of those parasites again. So yeah, no, I can sure that enraged you. So that other mom bought McDonald's chicken nuggets for breakfast, which enraged me, was my kids told me. And see, that mom is going around, she's like, don't tell your mom, this, and thinking that she's virtue signaling, like she's the greatest mom, and her kids are in the back seat going, yay, McDonald's for breakfast, chicken nuggets, right? And all of this, and this mom thinks she's great because she's bamboozling stuff. This mom is a fucking narcissistic piece of shit, that it's unhealed, that is doing nothing for her kids, that probably gives her kids all the screen time in the world. When they come in with her with something, she's like, you're bothering me, I need my alone time. Probably drinking her ass off, fucking eating all the poisonous foods, probably fucking stuck on her own phone, gossiping and worshiping celebrities and music stars and everything else. Yeah, that's the exact kind of mom that goes out and buys their kid that isn't parenting their kid, that's being a fucking non-responsible parent. I did not yell, of course, and that's good. So the mom, her kids are telling her what they did over there, and of course she's getting mad as she's hearing all this shit, but she didn't yell. She just handled herself. She let her kids speak, remain calm, and that's what you got to do. You got to learn how to breathe. You got to, especially like I'm wired to the fucking hilt, and so like if you're one of those people who's very high strung like me and wired to the hilt, you really got to dive into your healing and get that, because man, if my kid's at 6, 7 years old, if I was doing what she's doing and then they tell me that story, I'm going to be fucking freaking out, calling that bitch a bitch and fucking motherfucker and fuck that and fuck this. And so, that's great that you have control over your emotions to be able to be enraged and not, act out on those things and be able to breathe through it and process it properly. It's not their fault, but I was pissed at the situation. My youngest, who is 6, told me she asked the parents for water and they handed her soda pop instead. Yeah, see, that's just a hard one because, what is the 6-year-old to do, what is a 6-year-old to do when they ask for water and then are handed soda pop? Yeah, again, it's just being in that situation. And that's why you're creating that safe environment at your home, so that way that, these situations don't even happen. And this is the whole reason why your intuition told you no, from the beginning. Yeah. Then both kids were telling me that the mom was giving them candy and telling them not to tell me. So yeah, of course, and unfortunately, that's just normal. Like to do these things, and then you have another kid over that's like, "Oh, I'm not allowed to do that home," then the other parents are like, "Ah, it's okay. Don't tell your mom." They think nothing of it. These people are so lost in the sauce and downloaded on the program and dopamine out of their fucking minds and so jacked up on caffeine, coffee, fucking cooked food, processed food, parasites going crazy in their belly, controlling every thought and emotion and everything that they have going through their body. They don't even think twice about it. Like you can't even confront this type of parent about these small little things because that's what they'll say. They'll say, "Oh, that's a small little thing. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" Because they're not being parents. They have no clue. You can't even hold a conversation with this type of parent because they have no fucking clue. They don't respect themselves, care about themselves, taking care of themselves, love themselves, nothing. They don't even know what that means. And more or less their own kids, more or less your kids, who they couldn't give a fuck about, and think that they're spoiling. They're so lost that they think they're spoiling your kids while they're over there visiting by giving them poisons. I mean, think how lost in the sauce that is. Downloaded on the program, like there's no getting through to these people. So, yeah, okay, so that also goes into the fact my 6-year-old said she told the mom, "Well, I am going to." Oh, wait. Then both kids were telling me that the mom was giving them candy and telling them not to tell me. So these kids, her kids, are 6 and 7 years old, have that bond with her to where, and she's created that safe space where they can come home and know that they're not going to be punished for telling their mom the truth, even though they indulged in things that their mom doesn't approve of. And again, it all comes back because their mom allowed them to go out and be put in these situations. So this is a real growing experience, man. This is a real cool growing experience and I'm so happy that this person's sharing it because anybody else who has young children like this is going to benefit from understanding and thoroughly examining this situation. My 6-year-old said she told the mom, "Well, I am going to tell my mom because I don't want to lie to her." And that's awesome, man. That's something to cherish right there. And that's something to build off of and never squander and never crush in your child. And man, you got a good basis there. Just again, be the example. Be the example for your kids. That's great. You're telling them, you're explaining things to them. They're understanding, they're picking up on it. Just constantly be the example. And I'll tell you right now that I'm going to make a video on this. Probably, maybe I'll do it in the creating your environment video. But, we need to start, those of us with young children like this, I mean, you got to think like, how many more years is this going to go on? Like your children are 6 or 7 and they got all these years left. What I would be doing, and I'm just going to say what I would, again, this is just from an outsider's perspective. And when you're in the shit, I understand what it's like, and I don't know your whole situation and every detail and nuance of everything, but I would be, if one parent is working and the other one's not, I'd be fucking looking into homeschooling like that. I would be looking into goddamn homeschooling so goddamn quickly. I would be getting rid of all of anything that is financially burdening my family. Excessive car payments, excessive insurance payments, excessive cable payments, phone payments, excessive, I would be reanalyzing anywhere I have money going out in order to take that stressor off the family, off a young family like that, because I think these adults are in their 30s, mid to younger 30s. So, now's the perfect time. You guys still are young enough and you haven't traumatized yourself that much by, you're not in your mid 40s or 50s, and it got some real health issues and on pills and all that shit. So, I would really just take this opportunity to work together as a husband and wife, because this husband and wife is together. They're working together as a family unit, raising a beautiful and 6, 7 year old precious children that are have beautiful little souls, man. So innocent. And start figuring out, make that family strong as fuck, man. I mean, make the fucking dig that foundation for that young family of yours, and just, god damn it, make, nothing else matters outside of your family. Not your parents, not their grandparents, not friends, not so. I would be trying to figure out how I could homeschool. I would, if I live in a city or a town, I would be trying to figure out how to get away from everything, get my bills down more. Anything to get your bill stressors down and take that burden off of the family. There's a lot to go in there, though. And I'm not saying you guys aren't doing that. I'm just saying, there's so many different ideas and things that you could do. But man, dude, I would so want my kids to be homeschooled. Like if my 15-year-old came and lived with me, I would want him to be homeschooled. It's terrible. I mean, the indoctrination centers are just, it's a culture of filth. It's nothing but filth. It's everything against what humanity is supposed to be in these indoctrination centers. It's terrible. It's so bad. My oldest, who is 7, admitted to me that she asked for a Slim Jim because she knew that was the last time she would be allowed to get one. Yeah. So, and that's cool, man. I mean, damn, that's just so cool how it's just so the innocence. I can see, a child that age just being so honest and so open and so loving and innocent. And God, man, that's so sweet. And that's cool, and it's so the conversation I would have there is just that open conversation. I know you want, I understand, I understand where that's coming from, and then try to figure out, how you would go about that. I mean, I don't know how you went about that, but, how would I do that with my kid? Just, man, I don't even know. Like, those ages are so young. Like, it's so hard, man, at that age. Like, to parent with all that, with all those outside influences of schooling and peer pressure and the government breathing down your back, expecting you to fucking do this for them and that for them. And it's so sickening, man. But yeah, so just an innocent thing, they wanted to Slim Jim because it's the last time she'd ever have one. Oh, poor kid. Still struggling. That's okay. Just make sure that be like, how does that make you feel? That's like, why do you, I don't know. Like, I don't know. That's just, it's so innocent that it's so hard, My husband and I felt terrible because we're trying to do the right thing. But again, it seems like in a way, even though they're trying to be good, it is too much for them. And we feel like this sleepover was an escape in a way to do all the toxic things we either completely don't allow or trying to cut down on and break away from. Yeah, so a lot to unpack there. Now I'm going to finish that because she says, needless to say, they are not allowed to sleep over there anymore. The other girls will have to come to our home for a sleepover. So, they've already figured it out. Okay, that's not happening again. We learned our lesson, and again, this is good that this happened. It didn't kill them. It didn't harm them. What it did was it just it opened up talking points. It opened up all of these talking points, all of these things to just dig deeper and get down deeper to the root of, right? Get down deeper, be your own private investigator, be your own forensic psychologist, and get down deeper to all of these root issues, get to know each one of your kids individually better. My husband and I felt terrible. You guys shouldn't feel terrible. because we're trying to do the right thing, but again, it seems like in a way, even though they're trying to be good, it is too much for them. Again, just keep on being the example. Heal yourself. Keep on focus on yourselves. Heal from that trauma, that abuse. Recognize those things like you did at the beginning. Recognize those things of why you even caved in, that it came because you were fucking, your mom trapped you in and you didn't want to, so therefore you were projecting that, and that's what ultimately led against your intuition to do these things and allow that. And you shouldn't feel, and the reason you feel terrible now is because you're conflicted and you're still dealing with the cognitive dissonance. So just understand that is why your healing has to come first. So you allude to your children, that they're trying to be good. It's not that they're being good, it's that this is what is healthy for you. This is what benefits you. The knee bone's connected to the elbow in some way, right? So if you eat all this junk now, that's why people are having cancers. That's why people get Alzheimer's. That's why people have all these health issues. That's why people have to constantly go to the doctors. That's why people have rotting teeth. That's why people, deal with all these pains. That's why people deal with up and down emotions. That's why people deal with stomach aches. That's why people deal with constipation. That's why people deal with, so if your children can see, if you can make those connections of how all of, these vices, these things are connected to why, and they can understand all those, because they understand them. You just got to lay them out there, but you have to understand them, right? In order to portray that to them, you have to have a deep understanding, and that understanding is going to come out of you as you heal and you get rid of your vices and you be the example and you do these things, right? So it's all circled around you. You are the root, right? You are the root. So again, just, continue to dig down and take care of your abuse, your trauma through childhood, all the way through your adult life. Anything, it doesn't matter what it is. All of it needs to be addressed because it's all connected. There's a reason for all of it. And, we got to be our own forensic psychologists and our own expert and trust ourselves and dig down to the root of these things, because nothing's going to happen if we just acknowledge them and go, oh, well, just the way it is. Oh, yeah, okay, I acknowledged it. Okay, now let me move on. No, you've got to figure out why. There's a why to everything, and at the bottom, at the root of everything is the why, okay? So my husband and I felt terrible because we're trying to do the right thing. But again, it seems like in a way, even though they're trying to be good, it is too much for them. Yes, it can be too much for them because they're in these environments. So again, I don't know. I don't know if you have any opportunity for one parent to stay home and homeschool. I don't know if you have an opportunity. There are homeschooling groups in some places where, people have actually started homeschooling groups. There's so many different options. So I'm just, maybe that'll help spark some thinking outside the box for you guys. If you haven't considered any of this before, but, I would certainly, be trying to do everything I can to get my monthly bills down to zero and it's going to be a process, guys. Everything's a process. You can't rush, you can't push. It's not a battle. Don't, get that whole battle and that struggle and the stress mindset out of it and heal enough to where you can start coming from, instead of constantly pushing and being in an afraid type of programming way that you're coming about your healing. Get more to that calm, recognize that we only have this moment, being constantly present and aware, constantly aware of everything that comes out of your mouth, every thought, every emotion, every word, every action. And then, and be easy to understand. It's a balance. It's so nuanced. It's such a balance between being disciplined and taking personal responsibility, but at the same time, not being lackadaisical and not being stressed, and then not being stressed out. And yeah, so you know what I mean? You got to find your balance there. And you just, as long as you and your husband are staying on the same page, as long as you guys are working together, as long as you guys keep that communication open, and as long as you guys are creating that safe space inside of your home and not filling it with deep, like nasty emotions and crazy emotional ups and downs and screaming and yelling and loud music and all, a calm, peaceful environment at the house, that is conducive. I need to make this environment video next. It is too much for them, and it can be too much for them when they feel, when all these changes are happening they're trying to do, and all these changes are completely against what their outside environment is, where they're at most of the day and influenced by most of the day. It can be too much for them. That's why you got to keep that open communication. No music, no nothing, nothing. Just communication between you and them. Find activities. Find things they can help you with. Find things that you can involve them in. Find things where you guys can both just put your fingers together on something and just work together on. Find those things, because that's what your kids need. That is the closeness that these kids were supposed to get from the day they were born. They were never supposed to be separated. They were never supposed to be going outside the home for childcare. They were never supposed to be going outside the home for indoctrination for 8 hours a day. They were never supposed to be thrown in rooms with fucking 20 other abused, traumatized children and under the programming of these government agents being, propagandizing and indoctrinating them. So this is all unnatural. So yeah, it's very tough on them, and you don't want to stress them out. My youngest is showing his cognitive dissonance with his seizures, right? That's how it's coming out of him. So you don't want to push them, or you don't want to create an environment where they have to act out that way. So just make sure you're constantly getting to their issues, constantly allowing them that safe space to talk about their past. They're only 6 or 7, but how much abuse and trauma and programming was placed on them in that 5 years prior. You know what I mean? So, just address all those things. Those are the conversations that need to be talked about. Those are the conversations that they want to have, that they need to have for their healing. Because if they're still struggling and still wanting Slim Jims and still struggling with doing what's good, they need to, and they're being forced out there for 8 hours a day in these terrible, toxic environments that are a complete 180 from what you're trying to do at home. They need to be solid inside. They need to be firm inside. They need to be fucking stone at rock hard, solid foundation that they're coming off of, and be comfortable with that. So, that foundation has got to be laid, and it takes you connecting with them intimately. I mean, reading books together, whatever, using your imaginations together, just going out in la la land in your heads together. You know what I mean? That is what these kids need. Because if you do that, no matter what their outside influences are, that they are always going to come back to home base. They are always going to have that inside of them, because innately that's what humanity wants. Not all the vices and the quick fixes and the goddamn dopamine hits and the instant gratification that's out there, because it comes and goes. And it causes that emotional roller coaster. And these kids, when they get out there and do that, they realize, oh man, I need to go back home and reset. Because that's where my comfort, that's where my safety, that's where my safe space, that's where all the love and comfort's at. So, yeah. And we feel like this sleepover was an escape in a way to do all the toxic things we either completely don't allow or trying to cut down on and break away from. Yeah. And so again, that whole thought process is coming from your and your husband's abuse and trauma, and projecting, and thinking that, well, we're going to do this special thing for them, and look how it turned out, right? And so, you see how it's all rooted in your guys' issues and how you have to take care of those so you can be the proper guidance for them. The parental guidance, the helping them in a proper way is in making those right decisions for such a young child. You have to be able to come from your own correct foundation. So guys, just keep on digging down to the root of your issues. Keep on facing all of the reasons for that, why you make those bad decisions and go against your intuition and your innate knowing, and why you make those decisions, and you'll figure it out. I mean, you've already, look at the progress you made immediately. You know what I mean? Needless to say, they are not allowed to sleep over there anymore. The other girls will have to come to our home for a sleepover. Thanks again for your time. We really appreciate you. So yeah, and that's what it comes down to is it comes down to recognizing and accepting exactly what it is. And oh man, I just got sidetracked. I had somebody else shoot me an email I've been waiting for today. So here we go. Needless to say, they are not allowed to sleep over there anymore. The other girls will have to come there. Perfect. There you go. And that solves it, man. And when those girls come over to hang out at your house, because their parents have already built it up to them that, oh, the boring parents, oh, you're not going to be allowed to do anything. Oh, they do. When they come over, give those kids the love and attention that your parents don't give them. Don't say anything about their parents. Just spend that time that you are with your kids, just inviting them in and letting them spend that time with you guys as well. That's it. If these kids are that young, that's what they want. Now, if these kids were like 10, 12 years old, and a 12-year-old who's addicted to his fucking phone and addicted to pornography and addicted to fucking fast food and junk food and chemicals and poisons and all that, that's a different situation. You try bringing one of those kids over and they're going to be like, oh yeah, I want to go home now, but with a 6 or 7-year-olds, man, those little kids are, if they get over there with you, they aren't going to be, they're going to realize, because they're still that innocent and in touch with their empathy and their innate wholeness, that they're going to suck that. They're going to be wanting to come over all the fucking time. And then, how I said it earlier about how you can't even have a conversation with those types of parents, their types of parents. Man, they're going to be begging to come over. Can I go back over to Susie and Johnny's house? Why the fuck you want to go over there? They don't even do anything. Oh, mommy, please, please, please. Sure, fine. And they're going to be happy to get rid of their kids, because that's what they're doing anyways with all the McDonald's and the fucking screen time. They're doing everything they can to get their kids out of their hair. So, what I'm saying is you create that environment, it will come. These things, these healing things, as you're healing, you're going to create, it's like an energy vortex, man, that you're creating in the house, guys. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now. Just thinking about the energy that you guys are creating in the house, and what you're doing is so precious. It's so special. It's like, man, I just, It just makes me wish I could do it again, Yeah, it makes me wish I could have given my kids that kind of parenting and correctness and love and safety and openness and honesty and so yeah, guys, beautiful. Thanks for letting me share. I hope this helps a lot of people. Again, feel free to leave your comments, questions, tips, things you're doing, and take care of yourselves, because nobody else will.